I flew to Denver to secure the most important contract of my career. Then a woman at the airport cut the line, posted a deceptive video, and tried to destroy my reputation. She believed a viral clip and loud falsehoods made her invincible. But she didn't anticipate the complete recording and a K9 unit's alert would reverse the narrative. It was leverage I was about to use to restore my name and secure my future. Before we begin, let me know where you're joining from in the comments. It begins with a hand. It isn't clenched in fury or shaking with aggression. It's simply present. A placid, five-fingered barrier made of flesh and bone. The hand belongs to a TSA agent, a man whose badge reads Daniels. His face is a study in professional detachment, but his hand is a testament to absolute authority. It's the physical manifestation of a rule, a boundary drawn in the air that states, proceed no further. On the other side of that hand is a woman's face, contorted into a visage of pure, undistilled rage. Her lips are peeled back from her teeth. Her expensive sunglasses, perched on her head like a useless crown, are slightly askew. A vibrant magenta blouse screams for attention against the muted tones of the airport terminal. This image, this perfect still life of order confronting chaos, is the thumbnail for the story of how my meticulously planned day derailed completely. Freeze the frame there, and you have a compelling picture. But rewind 20 minutes, and you just have me, James Tarrant, operating on 4 hours of sleep and 2 cups of terrible airport coffee, trying desperately not to fumble the biggest opportunity of my professional life. 20 minutes earlier, I was just another face in the crowd. Navigating the security line at Terminal C, I run a small cybersecurity firm. I construct digital fortifications for companies to keep threats at bay. It's a profession that demands a profound respect for rules, for systems, for procedure. A firewall is merely a set of rules. It's a system, a cumbersome, inconvenient, sometimes absurd system, but a system nonetheless. Remove your shoes, extract your laptops, no liquids over 100 milliliters, adhere to the rules, and you reach your destination. Simple. My mental airport bingo card was nearly full. I scanned the queue. A father proudly presented a gallon bag of loose change. A bachelor party, still adorned with plastic crowns from the previous night. One traveler was fast asleep on his suitcase. A man in athletic wear performed a slow, deliberate stretch right on the floor. The PA system chimed, "Please keep walkways clear. The floor is not suitable for exercise." I checked a square. A woman nearby was debating the hygiene of socks on tile. "It's a leap of faith," I whispered. She chuckled. For a fleeting moment, we were a tribe, strangers united by untied laces and shared minor humiliations. My flight to Denver was boarding in 90 minutes. The agreement I was flying to finalize was the kind that could elevate my small 2-person operation into a recognized entity. It was a substantial 6-figure contract to overhaul the digital security for a major logistics corporation. It was everything. The pressure was immense. My business partner and best friend, Ian, had texted me, "Secure the deal. Theron, no pressure, but my daughter needs orthodontics, and I've got my sights set on a new boat." His humor was my anchor, but it was also a stark reminder of the stakes. This wasn't just about me. It was about Ian, his family, our collective future. I was mentally rehearsing my pitch, running through threat analysis charts and penetration test results. I needed to be sharp, confident, and the person they met had to be the one they would trust with the keys to their entire digital fortress. Externally, I was just another man in a sport coat scrolling through emails. Internally, my nerves were buzzing like a live wire. The line was progressing at a steady, predictable pace. I stood behind a kindly-looking elderly woman, leaning on a wooden cane, humming softly to herself. Ahead of her was the family in matching t-shirts, their young son a whirlwind of endless questions. "Mom, why do our shoes go in the box? Are the shoes going on an adventure too?" It was the mundane, beautiful, organized chaos of travel. I allowed myself a sliver of optimism. Perhaps this would be one of those smooth travel days. The PA system announced, "Attention passengers, the line that is not a line is a wall. Please find the line that is a line." A moment later, also, if your water bottle is labeled emotional support, it is still water. Maybe the flight would be on time, the skies calm, and the client receptive. Maybe the cosmos was aligning in my favor. I checked my watch. Time was adequate. Everything was under control. Everything was proceeding according to the system. And then I saw her, a flash of color and motion that didn't belong. She wasn't shuffling. She was striding. She moved with a purpose entirely at odds with the resigned patience of the queue. A magenta top, crisp white trousers, a bold choice for travel, and sunglasses resting on a voluminous wave of blonde hair. In her hand, a designer purse swung like a pendulum of impending disruption. She wasn't in the line. She was assessing it, her eyes scanning with profoundest taste, as if we were all inconvenient obstacles. My internal bingo card illuminated, I didn't even have a category for this. This was a Category 5 hurricane of entitlement, and it was heading straight for the front. I watched, mesmerized in a horrified way, like watching a nature documentary about a predator stalking its prey. The prey, in this instance, was the fundamental concept of waiting your turn. She glided along the outside of the velvet ropes, her gaze fixed on the podium where TSA agents verified identification. The rest of us were a slow-moving river following a winding path. She was taking the direct route, walking the riverbank, seeking a point of entry *. My internal monologue, the part of my brain that builds firewalls, was blaring. Non-compliant entry detected. Threat level high. System integrity compromised. I knew, with the certainty of a man who understands how systems fail, that she was about to shatter the fragile tranquility of the security line. She wasn't merely going to cut, she was going to tear a hole in the social fabric of air travel. A sinking feeling settled in my gut. My smooth, predictable morning was about to end abruptly. She reached a stanchion right beside me, one of those heavy posts with a retractable belt. A typical person sees that belt as a barrier. To her, it was clearly a mild suggestion. With a flick of her wrist, she unclipped the black strap. The sound of the retracting mechanism was jarringly loud in the terminal's hum. It was the sound of a rule being broken. A collective, sharp inhalation rippled through the lounge. Heads turned. The quiet shuffling ceased. It was a profound violation of the unwritten travel compact. Thou shalt not cut. She stepped through the gap, inserting herself directly in front of the elderly woman with the cane. In her haste, she didn't just step in front. She jostled the woman, throwing her off balance. The woman's cane clattered on the polished floor. "Oh my God," she cried out, stumbling sideways. My instincts overrode my thoughts. I reached out, steadying her arm before she could fall. "Whoa, there, I've got you," I said, helping her regain her footing. I retrieved her cane and returned it. "Are you all right, ma'am?" She looked shaken, a hand on her chest. "Oh, thank you, young man. Goodness, everyone is in such a rush these days." Her frail voice ignited a protective fire within me. The line cutter, this woman in magenta and white, didn't glance back. She offered no apology. She didn't acknowledge the person she'd nearly knocked over. She simply adjusted her oversized purse and faced forward as if her place was unquestionable. But the little boy from the matching shirt family, about 5 years old, had witnessed everything, and children possessed no filter. He pointed a stubby finger directly at her. "Mommy," he declared, his voice clear as a bell. "That lady cut. She pushed the grandma." "That's not fair," his mother whispered, inside voice. "Henry." The boy nodded, then used a marginally quieter outside voice. Inside voice. "She cheated." A few people snickered. The silver-haired woman patted his head. "Honesty builds strong character," she remarked. He flexed a tiny bicep. A new witness had been sworn in. His mother, mortified, tried to shush him, but the accusation hung in the air. I felt a dozen pairs of eyes on me. They'd seen me assist the woman. They were waiting to see what I would do. This was a defining moment. You can let it go, swallow your frustration, and allow the rule breaker to prevail. That's the path of least resistance. Or you can speak up. You can defend the system. I am a firewall guy. I defend systems. I took a breath. I kept my voice low and even. No aggression. Just a simple statement of fact. "Excuse me," I said. "The line begins back there." I gestured toward the end of the queue, 100 people deep. She turned slowly, her movements theatrical. She looked me up and down, her expression one of utter disbelief, as if a lamppost had just addressed her. "Excuse me," she retorted, her voice dripping with condescension. The sunglasses, once firmly placed, slid slightly down her nose, a tiny, almost imperceptible crack in her entitled facade. I mentally catalogued it. "First, sunglass slide. The game is afoot. I have a flight to catch," she announced, to me and the line at large. "I am a very important person." I resisted the urge to laugh. It was so perfectly cliché. "I demand to speak to the manager of airport queues." "We all have flights," I replied, my tone still calm. "That is the entire purpose of this facility. That line," I pointed again, "is the system that transports all of us, important or otherwise, to our planes." The man behind me let out a muffled chuckle. The tension was now palpable. It was a standoff. On one side, a woman who believed her status granted her exemption. On the other, me, a man who believed rules were the bedrock of civilization. Phones were raised, eager for content. She ignored my logic completely, turning her back to face the TSA podium. It was a clear dismissal. I had been deemed unworthy, but she wasn't confronting me anymore. She was taking on the system itself, personified by a man named Daniels, and I had a front row seat. Officer Daniels was a monument to tranquility, medium height and build, shaved head, a neatly trimmed goatee. He had witnessed it all. The frantic, the furious, the inebriated, the terrified. Her brand of self-important indignation likely didn't register on his radar. He stood at his station, motioning for the next legitimate person in line, a college student with a backpack, to approach. The woman in magenta pushed forward, cutting off the student. I'm next, she declared. Daniels didn't look up from the ID he was inspecting. He finished with the student, returned his license, and said, "Have a safe flight, sir." Then, and only then, did he turn his gaze to her. He didn't speak. He just looked, his expression a perfect blank. "I'm in a hurry," she said, tapping manicured nails on his podium. "You need to process me immediately." Daniels let the silence linger. His voice was a low.com baritone. "Ma'am, the line forms at the rear." He gestured vaguely toward the horizon. "I'll be happy to check your documents when it is your turn." "This is absurd," she huffed. "I don't have time for this. Do you know who I am?" It was the magical phrase, the ultimate trump card of the entitled. I saw the very corners of Daniels's mouth twitch. "No, ma'am," he said, his deadpan delivery award-worthy. "And with all due respect, it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or a senator here. You are a passenger, and the passenger line starts back there." I couldn't help myself. The opportunity was too perfect. I muttered, just loud enough for those nearby to hear, "Bingo, but don't you know who I am?" Bricks, that's a double-point bonus. The man behind me, now my silent ally, stifled a laugh. Karen Justice. That's how my brain labeled her on sight. She whipped her head around, her eyes locking onto mine like laser guides. The sunglasses did another little slide. "Are you mocking me?" she demanded. I held my hands up in a gesture of mock innocence. "Not at all. I'm merely an admirer of well-defined processes." I gestured to the long, winding line. "And this one is a classic." She seemed to realize direct confrontation wasn't working with Daniels, so she shifted tactics. Her face softened. Her voice took on a wounded tone. "I have a medical condition," she announced, loud enough for all to hear. "I cannot stand for prolonged periods. I need to proceed quickly." It was a bold gambit, but she'd made a critical error. She hadn't surveyed her I, a student of systems, had. I calmly lifted my hand and pointed to a large, clear sign not 10 feet away. It featured a blue and white wheelchair symbol and bold letters, "Special Assistance Medical Lane." "Ma'am," I said, my voice helpful, almost cheerful, "I believe you're in the incorrect line. The medical assistance lane is right there. They have staff specifically to assist individuals with conditions like yours. They'll expedite your process." "They will require documentation," Daniels added smoothly. "It's quite efficient." She glanced at the prominent blue sign as if it had personally offended her. The sunglasses slipped again. She pushed them up with one finger, then glared at the sign, as if considering litigation. Someone behind me murmured, "Dominant sign energy. Checkmate." I hadn't shouted. I hadn't insulted her. I had simply used the system's own rules. I had presented a logical, helpful solution to the problem she claimed to have. A wave of murmurs spread through the crowd. Everyone looked at her, then at the sign, then back at her. They saw her high heels. They saw her powerful stride. They saw a woman who appeared about as medically distressed as a triathlete. Her lie had been exposed, not by accusation, but by undeniable fact. Her face, previously pale with feigned distress, now flushed a deep, blotchy red that clashed horribly with her magenta top. She was trapped. She could admit her lie and go to the back, or she could double down. I watched, fascinated. She chose an unexpected path. She reached into her expensive purse, but not for an ID. She pulled out her phone and pointed it directly at me. The red recording light was a tiny malevolent eye. "This man," she announced, her voice suddenly trembling with manufactured fear, "is harassing me. He's a threat." I asked a simple question, and he began screaming at me. My brain scrambled to process this. Screaming. I hadn't raised my voice. Harassing. I had quoted the rule book. It was a complete fabrication. A piece of performance art for a social media jury. I stood there, my hands half raised in a "what is happening" gesture. "Ma'am, no one is screaming at you," I said, trying to keep bewilderment from my voice. "I simply pointed out that there is a line." She zoomed in on my face, her hand shaking for effect. "See, look at him. He's so aggressive. He's a textbook case of toxic masculinity. I fear for my safety." She was skilled. I had to concede that. She knew the buzzwords. She was painting a picture for a virtual jury devoid of context. But she'd made another critical mistake. She assumed she was the only one with a camera. A few feet away, a young man in a gray hoodie, whom I'd barely registered, had his own phone out. But he wasn't just filming me. He was panning slowly, capturing the entire scene. Her, me, Daniels' stoicism, the elderly woman, the medical lane sign. He was gathering evidence, documenting the context. My own phone buzzed. A text from the executive assistant for my Denver client. "Hi James, Ms. Albright is detained in a marathon meeting. Can we reschedule your presentation for 1 hour later? My apologies for the disruption. Under normal circumstances, an annoyance." Now, it felt like a divine reprieve, a 1-hour buffer in a day rapidly spinning out of control. But I didn't know if an hour would be enough to repair the damage this woman was inflicting. She was still performing, narrating her fictional ordeal to her phone. She tried to bait me, to provoke a reaction she could use. "What are you going to do now? Huh? You think you're powerful because you can yell at a woman traveling alone?" I refused to engage. You cannot win a debate against someone who is indifferent to the truth. I turned slightly, addressing Officer Daniels instead. "Officer," I said, my voice steady, "I believe this individual is causing a disturbance. She bypassed the queue and is now refusing instructions and filming people without consent." Daniels gave a slow, deliberate nod. "We are aware of the situation. Sir, please remain calm." The phrase was almost humorous as I was the only calm person present. Karen, having captured what she believed was sufficient footage, stopped recording. She tapped her screen with furious intensity. A smug, triumphant smile spread across her face. "There," she spat, her voice venomous. "Posted. Let's see how your employer enjoys the video of you menacing women at the airport. Have a dreadful flight, you irritable little man." Her sunglasses performed their most significant slide yet, nearly toppling off. She shoved them back up. A second later, my phone buzzed again. A social media notification. Ian had tagged me. His message was simple. "Buddy, what is this?" I opened the link. There it was. A masterfully edited 15-second clip. It started mid-sentence with my voice, cleverly clipped from admirer of the rules to just "I'm the rules." Then a tight shot of me pointing, framed to look like I was jabbing my finger aggressively in her face, not gesturing toward a sign. The caption was malicious genius. "Traumatizing experience this morning. Just trying to catch my flight when this man completely snapped. This behavior is unacceptable. Hashtag angry airport man. Hashtag airport rage. Hashtag Denver." My stomach filled with ice water. The comments were flooding in. "Terminate him immediately. What a lunatic. Someone find this guy and give him a reality check." The digital mob had assembled, and their pitchforks were aimed at me. My deal, my company, my reputational teetering on the brink of destruction by a 15-second falsehood. A wave of dizziness hit me. This was no longer a disturbance. It was a full-blown catastrophe. Boarding in 40 minutes. If I missed this flight, the Denver pitch evaporates. Just as I was formulating a plan, a new sound cut through the noise. A sharp clink-clink roll on the tile. Everyone halted. Everyone looked down. Time seemed to stretch. A teenager whispered, "We have a roller." A grandmother whispered back, "We have a problem." The can traced lazy circles toward Daniels's polished boot, as if guided by fate. He didn't move. He let destiny arrive. The object was a small, sleek aerosol can hairspray or something similar. It rolled in a perfect, lazy arc, tracked by 50 pairs of eyes, and came to rest against the toe of Officer Daniels's shoe. The entire security area, previously buzzing with hushed drama, fell into absolute silence. You could hear a boarding pass drop. Daniels didn't immediately react. He simply looked down at the can, his expression unreadable. Then he slowly lifted his gaze and fixed it on Karen. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something beyond boredom in his eyes. Professional interest. "Ma'am," he said, his voice retaining its impossible calm, "did this item fall from your bag?" Karen, so smug moments before, now resembled a deer in headlights. Her face paled, stark against her magenta blouse. I've never seen that before," she stammered. It was a weak, transparent lie. Just then, another TSA officer on patrol passed by with his canine partner, a focused German shepherd. As they neared our frozen drama, the dog stopped. Its ears shot up, its body went rigid, its nose twitched. It pulled its handler directly toward Karen's designer bag, which she had set down. The dog sniffed the bag once, then twice, its tail giving a single, stiff wag. Then, with calm certainty, it sat. It was a clear, deliberate, unmistakable signal. In airport security, a canine sitting is a giant, flashing neon sign that reads, "Problem identified." The handler praised his dog quietly. The dog remained seated, looking from handler to bag. Its duty was done. The system Karen had fought was now focusing its full, formidable attention on her. The conveyor belt whirred to a stop. X-ray operators turned. The checkpoint's rhythm was shattered. A woman with a sharp haircut and a supervisor's badge, Supervisor Miller, walked toward us with purposeful strides. She radiated an authority that made Karen's act seem juvenile. "Daniels, report," Miller said, her voice crisp. Daniels, still looking at Karen, recited the facts dispassionately. "Attempted to bypass the queue, ma'am. Caused a disturbance, was disruptive to other passengers. Subsequently, her bag produced this non-compliant aerosol container. Canine Unit Duke has positively alerted on the primary piece of luggage." Karen's composure shattered. The panic was genuine now. "It's a mistake," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "Your dog is faulty. There's nothing in there. It's just my purse." Supervisor Miller gave Karen a long, cold look. She looked at the bag, the sitting dog, then back at Karen. "Ma'am, please step over here, away from the line." She pointed to a sterile stainless steel table in a secondary screening area. "We will be conducting a physical inspection of your belongings." The young man in the hoodie was still filming, his phone steady. He was capturing her downfall, the rolling can, the dog's alert, Miller's arrival. He was getting the whole story. Suddenly, my own problems, the viral video. The teetering deal felt distant. I was witnessing a live performance titled Consequences, and the final act was commencing. Miller pulled on blue nitrile gloves, the snap echoing. She looked Karen in the eye. Place the bag on the table. Empty it. Now, for a moment, Karen stood defiant. It was her last stand. This is harassment, an invasion of privacy, she declared, her voice shrill. This bag is worth more than your annual salary. Supervisor Miller didn't flinch. She just stared, her expression immovable. Ma'am, she said, her tone dangerously quiet. A federally trained canine unit has alerted on your property inside a secure federal checkpoint. The brand of your purse is currently irrelevant. Your options are these. You empty the bag, or my officers will empty it for you. Either way, we are examining the contents. I strongly advise you to choose cooperation. The finality in Miller's voice broke through Karen's outrage. With trembling hands and a look of utter defeat, she picked up the expensive bag, placed it on the steel table, and unzipped it. Miller, methodical and precise, began removing the contents. A wallet bulging with cards, a set of keys, a jumble of lipsticks and compacts. Then, Miller's hand emerged, holding a perfume bottle. It wasn't Cravel's. It was an ornate glass vessel, closer to a pint, a decorative piece. Ma'am, Miller stated, the TSA liquid limit for carry-on luggage is 3.4 ounces, or 100 milliliters. But its designer, Karen, protested, as if the label nullified federal law. It is non-compliant, Miller stated flatly, dropping the costly bottle into a large, clear bin with a clatter. The bin was a graveyard of surrendered contraband, water bottles, snow globes, jars of sauce. Then Miller reached back in. Her hand emerged holding a black, tactical-looking canister with a bright red safety cap, a can of pepper spray, and not a small one, a large high-capacity model. Another collective gasp from the onlookers. An oversized perfume bottle was a mistake. Pepper spray was a prohibited weapon. Officer Daniels, who had been observing silently, finally spoke. He raised one eyebrow. Intending to spice up your in-flight meal, ma'am? He asked, his voice bone dry. The staggering irony washed over me. I was being crucified online as a public menace, while the architect of the chaos was caught attempting to smuggle an actual weapon and a comically large bottle of flammable liquid onto an aircraft. The little boy, Henry, provided perfect commentary once more. Mommy, that lady has bad guy spray. Are you a bad guy? He asked, with genuine curiosity. The court of public opinion, right there in the security line, had reached its verdict. Karen was unraveling completely, tears streaking her makeup. It's for my protection, she sobbed, pointing a shaking finger at me. From men like him, Supervisor Miller had heard enough. Ma'am, pepper spray is a strictly prohibited item, classified as a weapon under TSA regulations. You cannot bring it through a security checkpoint. She signaled to another officer. The situation was escalating from a screening issue to a potential law enforcement matter. This was my moment of decision. The peaceful path was clear. Collect my belongings, walk away, and manage the digital inferno from my gate. Let the system deal with her. But I thought of the question Ian and I often debated during late-night work sessions. What holds more weight, peace or justice? Peace was simple. Justice was complicated. I looked at the elderly woman Karen had shoved. I thought of my name and face being slandered online. My decision was made. I am a firewall guy. Systems must be defended. I was staying. Just as Miller was about to lead her away, Karen's last tread of control snapped. She let out a guttural scream and lunged not at the officers, not for her belongings, but directly toward me. This is all your fault, she shrieked, her eyes wild. For a split second, I was frozen. You don't anticipate a physical assault in a TSA checkpoint. I took a half step back, hands coming up defensively. But she never reached me. Officer Daniels moved with startling speed. He didn't tackle her. He simply became an immovable object in her path. He caught her by the upper arms, absorbing her momentum and halting her completely. That is enough. Ma'am, he said, his voice still impossibly calm, yet firm. It was a brief, pathetic struggle. She twisted, flailing. She wrenched one arm free and swung wildly. Her long acrylic nails scraped against the sleeve of my blazer with a faint rasp. It wasn't a punch, but it was contact. It was assault. The line had been crossed. Instantly, 2 more airport police officers materialized, blanking Daniels. The entire incident, from lunge to containment, lasted less than 5 seconds. Supervisor Miller's voice cut through the tension. All right, that's it. We're done here. The officers escorted a now hysterically sobbing Karen to a small administrative area. The show was over. TSA agents efficiently directed the rest of us forward. Folks, let's keep the line moving. Please have your boarding passes and IDs ready. The system was REBOOTING. As I gathered my laptop and shoes, Supervisor Miller approached me. Sir, I'm Supervisor Miller. I witnessed the incident. Are you all right? I'm fine, thank you, I said, my voice slightly unsteady. A little surprised that attempted assault by coup jumper was on my itinerary today, but I'm okay. She nodded grimly. Because she made physical contact, We are required to file a formal incident report. I'll need your full name and a statement for the record. This was the official narrative. I provided my ID and recounted the events factually, from the unhooked rope to the scrape on my jacket, omitting my sarcasm and opinions. I gave her the facts. Meanwhile, the young man in the hoodie, Leo, was speaking with another officer, showing him the video. He was providing his own witness statement, backed by digital proof. He caught my eye and gave a small, encouraging nod. He mouthed, "I got the footage," and tapped his hoodie pocket. The kid had the calm of a seasoned documentarian. I felt my pulse slow. I finished my statement. Miller thanked me. "You're free to proceed to your gate. Mr. Theron, on behalf of the TSA, I apologize for the delay and disturbance. One question," I said. "She's not, by any chance, on the 9:15 to Denver, is she?" Miller allowed a tiny professional smile. "No, Mr. Theron, Ms. Justice will not be flying on her current ticket. Any future travel will require rebooking and additional screening." The relief was so profound it nearly buckled my knees, but my victory felt incomplete. The physical battle was over, but the war for my reputation online raged on. My phone vibrated incessantly, and as I turned toward the terminal, Leo jogged up to me. "Hey," he said, holding out his phone. "You'll want this. I got the whole thing from the start." "The whole thing?" I asked, my voice a whisper. "Every second," he confirmed with a grin. "Her unhooking the rope, bumping the elderly lady, you helping her up, the kid calling her out, you pointing at the sign, not at her, her starting her video, the can rolling out, the dog sitting, the pepper spray, and yeah, I got her lunging at you. It's a clean, unedited 4-minute shot." He airdropped the file to me. The progress bar felt agonizingly slow. When it finished, the video file appeared on my screen. My exoneration. "My name's Leo," he said. "What she did was wrong. Post it. Show people the truth." "Leo," I said, my voice thick with gratitude, "I don't know how to thank you. You may have just saved my career." He shrugged, a gesture of casual heroism. "No problem, just pay it forward sometime." With a wave, he blended back into the crowd, my anonymous savior. I found an empty seat at a departure gate and sat down, hands trembling as I played the video. I was perfect. The undeniable, unedited truth. I opened my social media apps. The situation was dire. Angry airport man was trending. The misleading clip had been picked up by news aggregators and was exploding. The comments were a torrent of digital vitriol. "Find his employer. He belongs on a Knopfler list. This is toxic masculinity." Then I saw the comment that turned my blood cold. It was from the official corporate account of the company I was to meet. "We are aware of this disturbing video. Can anyone confirm this individual's identity? This is not conduct we condone." They were on the verge of canceling. I took a deep breath. My career hung by a thread. I had one chance. I uploaded Leo's 4-minute video. I didn't write a long defense. I let the footage speak. The caption was just 5 words. "The internet is swift. Context is swifter." I added hashtags "not so angry airport man" and the full story. I tagged every news outlet that had shared the original clip, the TSA and the airport. I hit post. For 30 seconds, silence. Then the first like a comment, "Whoa, this changes everything." Another, "She pushed an elderly woman and he helped her up." A floodgate open. The internet hive mind found a new target. My video was shared, reposted, retweeted at a dizzying pace. The tide didn't turn, it reversed at a tsunami. Comments on Karen's original post transformed into outrage. "You're a liar. She tried to bring pepper spray on a plane. Justice for James Theron." The hashtag Karen Justice began trending nationally. My phone rang, a local news producer. My group chats lit up. "Ian, I'm your PR guy now." Say no comment, but with flair. "My aunt, I saw the video. Do you need me to send snacks?" "My landlord, are you famous now? Please don't move out." "A high school friend." "Dude, I always knew you were passionate about orderly lines." I typed back to none of them and breathed. "Mr. Theron, can we get a comment on the full video?" The second call was from a national morning show. My inbox, previously filled with hate, was now flooded with interview requests and support. I sent one quick email to Ms. Albright, the Denver CEO. Subject, context, botted a link to the full video. Less than 5 minutes later, a reply landed. "James, we've seen it. My apologies for our earlier post. This is unbelievable. Please disregard the noise. The meeting is absolutely on. We'll see you soon. Your composure under pressure is impressive." I leaned back and closed my eyes, exhaling a breath I'd held for an hour. Justice, delivered by the kid named Leo, and a cellular signal had prevailed. But as I sat there watching my original flight depart without me, a news alert appeared. "Passenger cited for interference, prohibited items, investigation ongoing." I had a feeling this wasn't over. There was one more act. My new flight was in 3 hours. I found a quiet corner with a power outlet and set up a makeshift office. My phone was the epicenter of a media storm. Yin was now my self-appointed press secretary, texting, "Tell them you were defending the honor of grandmothers everywhere. Make sure they say our company name." I was drafting an email when a powerful craving for a decent coffee hit. I packed up and walked toward the main concourse, and then I saw her. It was like seeing a specter if specters wore rumpled magenta and looked defeated. There she was, Karen Justice in the flesh, same outfit now creased. The only difference was the missing designer bag. In its place, she clutched a flimsy, clear plastic bag containing her wallet and phone, the kind given when you're processed. She was marching grim-faced back towards security. She was attempting to fly out again the same day. It was either audacious or profoundly foolish. I had to see the finale. The universe offered a frontal seat. I bought my coffee and found a strategic vantage point. She handed her new boarding pass and ID to a different TSA agent. The scanner beeped, not the usual chirp, but a loud, insistent BAPVPVP. The agent's eyes widened slightly as he looked at his screen. "Ma'am," he said, his voice carrying, "it appears you've been randomly selected for secondary security screening." A traveler near me held up his phone screen, which displayed an airport bingo card. He tapped a square labeled Random SSSS. Then he tapped another, Sunglasses as a headband. He looked thrilled. Randomly, of course, I could see the letters on her pass, SSSS. The quad S, it's the traveler's mark of Cain. She was getting the full, unabridged TSA experience. They directed her to a sterile, glass-walled enclosure. 2 agents awaited. She began to argue, but the agent just pointed at the boarding pass and shook his head. The rules were the rules. I watched, mesmerized, as they meticulously deconstructed her travel plans. They examined every item in her plastic bag. They swabbed her phone, her wallet, every card for explosives residue. They had her remove her shoes, her belt, her watch. Then came the pat-down, a thorough clinical procedure that looked profoundly humiliating. The best part, the moment of poetic perfection, came during the liquids check. She had apparently purchased new travel-sized toiletries. An agent picked up a small bottle of lotion and a mini hairspray. He squinted at the labels, held them to the light, and turned to her. "Sorry, ma'am, these are 4-ounce bottles. The limit is 3.4. And with that, he dropped her new items into the bin of surrendered goods, where they clattered against the ghosts of past contraband. It was the final indignity. Losing a tiny bottle of hairspray seemed to break her. Her shoulders slumped in total defeat. Just as they waved her through, a uniformed airport police officer approached with a clipboard. He spoke quietly but handed her a folded paper, a citation for interfering with a federal security agent. She took it without a word. As she turned, her sunglasses, which had miraculously stayed perched, finally surrendered. They clattered to the floor and skittered under a bolted bench. A child's hand skilled with a shoelace fished them out. "Lost and found," the kid said. She shook her head. "No." The kid shrugged and handed them to an agent who slid them into a bag labeled property. "Property of whom?" someone asked. "Consequences," I murmured. She just kept walking, a woman utterly defeated by the system she believed she was above. The battle was over. Now I just had to fly to Denver and win the war. The flight was smooth and devoid of drama. The hour lost in chaos became a bubble of intense focus. I refined my presentation, my mind sharp. The adrenaline had faded, leaving cold determination. I would land this deal. I entered the client's sleek downtown office, feeling a confidence I hadn't possessed that morning. The CEO, Miss Albright, met me in the lobby. Her handshake was firm, her gaze perceptive. "Mr. Thrun," she said, a slight, knowing smile on her lips. "I must say my morning was far more entertaining thanks to your travel exploits."